Hey there, welcome to Supercharge Fridays. 1 year. We've been live 1 year, 52 weeks to be precise. As a matter of fact, I think 53 Fridays because I'm not sure because of 2020 being a leap year. Anyway, we've been live for 52 straight weeks. And this is celebration time. So come on in the comments. Let's have some fun together. Let's share some learnings and do what I started Supercharge Fridays for, which is build a community, so connect with people and really connect. We're going to talk about that. Connect, share our experiences, which I think we have done as a community, learn and apply. So that's the idea. I know there's a few seconds delay. I don't have a guest today. I'm all by myself. Good morning. Good morning, Hannah. I was going to say, because I'm confusing myself because in Dutch, morgen is morning. So it's like, good morgen, Morgan. How are you, Hannah? Thank you. Thank you. That means a lot coming from you because I know you're very regular with your summary Sundays. So fantastic. I know there's a bit of a delay and we're going to wait for our lovely people to join us. Morning, Kenneth. It's 8 a.m. in the East Coast. How are you guys? We have an action-packed session today with, it's crammed up. Maybe I think it's crammed up, but it's I think it's worth sharing because there's a lot of learnings that have come up from the past 12 months that I'd like to share. Not only learnings from the practice of doing something weekly, even on occasions one doesn't want to do it, but also some of the learnings from the guests that I've had. And there were so many, and I crammed them up into 10 or 11. I would have done more. So we need like 2 hours for that, which I don't think a lot of people have these days. So I've crammed it up into hopefully what is going to be an hour. So I'm going to jump in and see how are you guys freezing. You're freezing your tail off. I think I can say, dear friend, good morning. Keep warm. Summer, yeah, summer is coming with -20. I think your definition and my definition of summer is very different. So fantastic. Good morning, Lauren. How are you? Thank you. It's so wonderful to see you guys. Hi, Jeevak. How are you? Ashish, Rishik. Wonderful. It's great to see you guys over here. Rajiv, good evening. We've got a lot of stuff to cover today, so I'm going to get started. I want to start with a very small word that's, it's so easy to say it, but how to say it, in a way that feels like it's coming from the bottom of the heart. So it's like, heartfelt thank you. Heartfelt. I think that's the best way to describe it. Heartfelt thank you for being a part of this journey. Whether you came in the beginning, whether you joined last month, it doesn't matter. What matters is you're here today. So thank you. Because at the end of the day, we don't do this stuff for ourselves. Yeah, a musician doesn't, compose a song. Yes, I know I compared myself to a musician because I do think that communication, sharing, all of this stuff, I think it's an art. So what's the point of, and I've said this from the very beginning, I still remember the first episode and there were like 70 or 80 people watching. I was absolutely thrilled. And then it dwindled. It was always like 10 or 20. I was like, but it doesn't matter. I was always aiming for one. So what's the point if you're going to be alone without people on the other side? What's the point? Yeah, what's the point? It's not about being discovered. It's about connecting with someone saying, hey, I like that song. Oh, I like that tip of yours. Thanks to that tip. Thanks to what Hannah said. Thanks to what Kevin said. I improved my LinkedIn, or I got a job, or I got a better salary. It makes it all worthwhile. So I want to say a big thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I'm not going to get all sappy and start crying, but thank you. I'm going to maybe say this. Yeah. Oh, thank you. I'll just say that in Hindi. Dhanyavad, shukriya, merci, muchas gracias, thank you well. Yeah, and as many languages as I know. You can fill in the blanks if I didn't say it in the language that you're watching. I obviously don't know how to say it in Finnish. So yeah, good evening. Good to see everybody here. So I wanted to start with thank you. I'm going to end it with thank you. Don't worry, I'm not done yet. I've got a lot of talking to do. So hopefully, you guys are going to share as well. I'm going to take a sip. Something I'm proud of this year. We all have some achievements in the last year, something that we've done. Drop it in the comments if you want. What are the things that you're, everybody wants to say, this is what I could have done better. I didn't meet my goals. Yeah. Is that one thing you did you're proud of? Feel free to, let's encourage each other. Let's share with each other what we're proud of. There's a few things I'm proud of, but this is one of them. In my head, I thought of a book. But before a book, I said, let's put this on a podcast. Completely scrappy, not the best audio quality, doesn't matter. Wanted to launch a podcast, it's done. And it's only getting started. So a little plug for the podcast. I hope you're listening to it. I'm handpicking these people. These are fantastic people who share career advice. So if you haven't checked it out, do check it out. It was in the top 20, top 25, which is wonderful. And thank you for that. I know, Hannah, the word swag, I don't know why, it makes me laugh. In Finnish, we say kiitos. Kiitos. Okay, it sounds nothing like any of the languages. And in Indonesia, you would say terima kasih. Thank you. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful to see. Community is everything, Hannah, isn't it? And I, they're like nooks and corners of the world, and that's one of the best things about being live at the same time as your audience. Highly suggested if you guys are up to it. If you haven't thought about video, I'm going to share some learnings with you, and these are not classical learnings that you see in other places. I hope you agree with me. I'm going to share some learnings that have come from experience and have come from mistakes. So I hope you can see yourself in these learnings if you are hesitating, whether it's producing content on LinkedIn, whether it's coming on video, or even going live. On LinkedIn, there is a process you have to apply. I applied, by the way, 3 times. First 2 times, there was no response. And I think there's something to be said about, it could be persistence. Shweta's here. Good morning. Shweta, you can comment if it's persistence or if it's just they get sick of you and they're like, yeah, take the live. But if you're convinced you want to go live on LinkedIn and you think you can bring lots of value to people, highly suggest you do it. However, I know lots of scrappy people who are like, I'm not waiting for these LinkedIn snobs to give me live access. I'm going to do my own live. So they go live on Facebook, they go live on YouTube. There's something to be said. And I think Professor Adam Grant talked about it in one video or in an article. He composed it with someone else. I think her name is Esther Perel. And they talked about something called burstiness. When you know you're doing something, like you're in a team, you're in Deloitte, one is in the US, one is in Hong Kong. There's something to be said about when you know someone is online and you sent a message at midnight, you were working late, and they checked, they received it. There was a check, in the inbox, and then they immediately reply. There's some energy which is from different parts of the world, and it just connects. So, what you said, Hannah, it's just, I totally agree with it. It's a community, and it's one of the learnings I'm going to talk about, a very humble a very humble learning that has come from experience. So fab, lovely faces here. We have some new friends in here. Good morning, John and Vanch and Saudamini. How are you? Wonderful. So I'm gonna do a couple of things here. I've done, I think, quite a bit of chatting. I can't believe 8 minutes have gone by. I'm gonna share with you a few learnings from having a practice like something you say you're going to do it and you do it. I'll be honest, that's a first for me. I am not a person who sticks to my word. So I'm going to share some learnings from that experience briefly. And then I'm going to share some learnings of, with guests. So there's been a ton of guests, and every person that has come has this gigantic heart. They haven't charged. Obviously, you don't get paid. Shweta, I think we would love to get paid to go live on LinkedIn because we're driving traffic. It's nice. But LinkedIn doesn't work that way. So these are guests who come in and they share things that they would normally share with paid clients. And so there's something to be said about these gigantic hearts. And I'm going to share some of these learnings with these guests that took out time, tons of these wonderful people. And I'm going to take like 10 or 11, like I said, in the interest of time. Otherwise, we will be here all day and all night, right, Ilmi? Because you're in your night. So it's like, 9 p.m. for you. So Good morning. I love that you're enjoying your morning cup of joe with VG. I love that you're there at the same time. Fantastic. Lovely that you're connecting with each other. I'm going to start with the first learning from this experience. And this is kind of obvious. And I remember we talked about music. Getting an audience is hard. Sustaining an audience is hard. It demands a consistency of thought, purpose, and action over a long period of time. What simple words? The fact that it's coming from Bruce Springsteen, then it means a lot, right? The singer. So a one-hit wonder. You have artists who have done one thing and they're very famous for that. Not really known. They're known for one-hit wonder, and that's it. But when you have an audience, there's something to be said about consistency. There are days when you don't want to do something. Yeah. And like I said, I am a little surprised that I went ahead. There are days I didn't want to. There are days I'm like, nobody watches anyway. I have this tiny audience. What difference does it make? Ego talking. And ego is a big thing I want to talk about today. Ego is not your friend. So consistency. Good old-fashioned hard work, elbow grease, consistency. You say you're going to do something, you commit, you do it, yes. And then it's just easy. It gets easier. I think it gets easier with time. Are you kidding me? People charge. Oh, wow. I want to join that club, Shweta. Let's you and I chat sometime about that. Good afternoon, Kiasha. Lovely to have you, and lovely to have have you on the journey. So getting back to this, good old-fashioned why. Simon says, you remember the game? Simon says, stand up. Simon says, sit down. So Simon Sinek says something about why you do what you do. People don't come to you because of what you do, but it's because why you do it, right? Very simple. Why? I said on the LinkedIn Live yesterday, I want to help one person. Yes, that's not the whole truth. I'm doing this for me. I'm doing this to prove to myself that I'm not a quitter. I've quit a lot of stuff. I'm like, I will start this exercise regime. I will do it. I've quit after 1 week. I'm a quitter. I said I'm going to do better in terms of eating healthy. I'm a quitter. I love my Hindi-speaking viewers, my namkeen. Namkeen is Hindi for salty snacks. I'm a quitter when it comes to these things. I haven't quit here. So your why matters. And your why is very personal. So don't let people tell you what your why is, because it sounds politically correct. Yes, I said I want to help one person. Maybe there's nobody on the other side when I'm talking. Touch wood, that hasn't happened. But even if there was nobody, I remember Meenakshi talked about it on the LinkedIn Live we did on agility. For those of you who were here, you know what I'm talking about. Commit to it. You're doing it for you. Even if no one shows up, you're practicing. And you're telling yourself, you're sending these signals to your brain. I can do it. I said I will do something, and I'll do it. So that's the why. And of course, the cherry on the cake is, those of you who are regular and who produce content, whether it's written or video, whatever, Hannah, Ken, Shweta, all you guys who are regularly producing content, G to an extent, because you're starting to create fabulous content on LinkedIn. Because for those who don't know, G is a job seeker, and she's learning from a video coach on how to create videos which say, this is me, this is what I'm about. Give me a chance. I want to work with your company. Every time you do this, you'll get DMs. You're going to get private messages from people saying that really helped. That really helped. That is the stuff we live for. Yes, of course, we need an income. Yes, of course, we're feeding our family, taking care of ourselves. That's going to happen when when you put out good in the world and you get those messages. That's my currency. That's my why. So that's a beautiful cherry on the cake, but that's not starting with. I'm starting with the thing that, yeah, you're not a quitter. You can do this. So if you've started something in the past and you're like, can I do that thing that I promised myself? Yeah, you can. You can. And here, why is it that I didn't quit here? Could it be that it was a public commitment? Okay, maybe. If that's what it takes, that I'm gonna, maybe I'll publicly commit. Maybe I'll publicly commit that I'm going to do better at this or that. Do you know what I mean? Do you guys have any comments on that? I'd love to see what you're saying. Quitting means sometimes that you're not stubbornly banging your head on the stone. Yeah, but it also sometimes means you're giving up. It's a very polite thing to say, Risto, but I'm going to call a spade here. I'm going to call myself out. You're welcome. You're wonderful. That's Bob again. You're like this James Bond. Yeah, Bob is a great example of that, and I'm sure Bob you'll agree. It's worth it when we do what we do, and it's appreciated, and it's the free stuff. So before people get into the paid one-on-one client or group coaching or whatever. So that's the thing I wanted to say. Your why matters, and your why is very personal. Whatever it is, if it is strong enough, it's going to sustain you through whatever it is you're going through. The other thing I want to say, Lauren knows about the 3 C's. I learned about the 3 C's from Lauren. Your ego is not your friend. So when you're starting out and you're doing something and you're putting yourself out there, you know those two famous voices, self one and self two. There's a fantastic book called The Inner Game of Work. I've talked about it a lot. It's a very interesting book, and I'll tell you why it's interesting. It talks about self one, which is the ego, and self two is the original. It's always been there, and it's pure, and it's there from childhood that you can do anything. And self one says, "Nah, I'm good enough." Like, it's got that whiny kind of tone. I remember the day I went live, an hour before, I had sweaty palms, and after a few weeks, I continued to have it. It got better with time. Remember we said consistency. But it didn't come from fear, it came from ego. What if nobody shows up? You're going to talk to yourself? Like, the tech wasn't scary. It doesn't matter, you'll figure it out. But what if nobody shows up? That's the ego. And if we don't pay attention to the ego, we're going to come across the 3 C's. Complain, compare, and compete. Complain. I do all this hard work. I'm not getting the response. I thought it would result in X, Y, and Z, and that hasn't happened. Compare. I've seen other people when they go live, they have 500 live, like 500 people watching. Why don't I get that? Complaining, comparing. Competing is less of an issue for me, but I do think that I've started competing with myself. Finally, it's taken me years. Get better than last time. Compete with 2019, 2019 Sonal, your version of 2020, competing with that. Yeah, that sounds great, but it takes a lot of work to get to this place where you're like, no, pat yourself on the back, don't compare. And I'm going to come to this in a second, because one of the lessons I learned, we'll talk about that, was this guy, Ahmed Imam, who's a major LinkedIn influencer. He's got like hundreds of thousands of followers. And he talked about relationships, not not followers. Go for relationships. And thanks to this medium, and thanks to going live, I've made brilliant friends, just like a lot of us who produce content on a regular basis. But now, if I'm going to Finland, I'm going to tell Risto. And if I'm going to be in Chicago, I know Lauren's going to say, hey, come and stay over. Same for a few other places. So yes, 500 people watching live would be wonderful, but I'd rather go for depth than breadth. And that's not sour grapes. I honestly don't think I would be able to keep up as well with, with like hundreds of thousands of comments. I like the fact that it's intimate. I can actually, what I mean, like talk. We can actually, take each other's names and actually, spend time, which is not easy to do. But that's coming with later thinking. In the beginning, it's a little bit of jealousy, right? And I've had my fair share of that. We've had some new people joining. Sham, Ira, Bhupinder, Walid. Yeah, you're right. You're right. And I have another thing that Ahmed said, which I'm going to talk about, and that's go for impact, not influence, because we don't really control what's going on with influence. Quitting is giving up. Yes. If you are in the battle, you never quit. But change strategies, that's true. In the bigger picture, if something good, it is sometimes good to stop and change strategies. Never enter a battle if you're not sure you'll win. We have somebody watching on YouTube. Wonderful. Hi, Sandeep. Good to see you here. So the second thing I want to say is, that famous, it's been done to death. If you go to leadership trainings, there'll be like this picture. Is it a duck or is it a rabbit? You remember that one? It's so cheesy. Everyone is like, another training. But we know it's true. The thing about cliches is they're true. Problems can't tell you how many problems. I've had tech issues. I actually disappeared. There was one live stream I did with a lovely coach. I disappeared for 10 minutes. My connection, it was locked down. The kids were home and they had disconnected the cable. So with the cable, I didn't need Wi-Fi because the cable is very sturdy, right? They had taken it and they were watching Netflix, and I didn't know that. So I, at one point, the Wi-Fi was like, please, please. Oh. So it disappeared. So I disappeared. And the coach was alone. He was reading the comments. He was chatting. He was totally calm. And I remember saying, Andrew, hey, you're amazing. He said, I mean, the queen can pop outside and smile and I'll be calm. He said, calm is my superpower. And I was like, that's amazing. I would not have known that about him if I hadn't been through this gigantic drama. Can you imagine disappearing? You're live and you disappear for 10 minutes? You're going to lose a lot of audience. But the audience came back. They were nice. Some of them went, but most of them were like, we don't know where Sonal is. What's going on? I kept appearing, disappearing, but they came back. So that told me something. It also told me, yes, I was losing my shizzle at that time, but I was also kind of calm. So I was like, it's an opportunity to remind, and it's an opportunity for your audience to be like, you're a human, man. Just because, we're like watching you, you're not better than us. You're just like us. And I love that. I live for authenticity. So problem or opportunity? I'll give you another problem. Somebody made an inappropriate comment. It's not happened a lot. It happened a couple of times. And this one time I remember my dad was watching. And there's this guy and he just couldn't stop. And the thing with being live, during those days, live, you wouldn't see comments on the screen. You'd have to see them on the phone. So I didn't know he'd done it. I saw it for a sec. I got a bit, and he wrote it many times. So that was the first time I blocked someone. So it takes a lot. So I realized, okay, my, we're all different, but it made me realize the benchmark is very, the tolerance level is actually quite high, which is good, because then it was just before the COVID hit and patience and all of that stuff. I had to relearn. Problem or opportunity? I don't know. It's the duck or the rabbit. Hey, Abhinav. Thank you. Consistency is underrated. Consistency is totally underrated. Lovely to have you here. Ronnie, you were there in the first few episodes, I remember as well. It's great to see you here. Another thing I want to talk about, learning, which is again dedicated to some people who are thinking about producing content and haven't done it. I'm going to come to it in a second because my new favorite has said something. When somebody makes inappropriate comment, I called out live. Yeah, it happened once, but that guy was mean. That I called out, but I had a good laugh. And sometimes it's hurtful, but you move on. You take it, roll with the punches, and you move on. Good point. Another learning. Who remembers, what's his name? Bobby McFerrin? Don't worry, be happy. So instead of don't worry, be happy, don't worry, be scrappy. Scrappy, for those who are non-English native speakers, if you're a Hindi speaker, it's called jugaad. You know immediately what I'm talking about. Don't wait for the perfect microphone, camera, laptop. I know somebody who hasn't gone live. They have access to LinkedIn and they haven't gone live. They're waiting for 4 months for a green screen to arrive. It got stuck coming from a ship in China. I don't know. I was like, wow, it's an excuse. You're scared. I'm calling you out. Make do with what you have. This is a TV room. You have no idea what it looks like. This is a TV room, playroom, ironing room, ironing clothes, exercise room, toys are everywhere, sitting room. This is the most ignored room in the house, but it's quiet. It's upstairs. So I'm here. It's pretty? No, not at all. It looks like I'm in a warehouse. I don't care. People don't care either. So stop focusing on the wrong things. That's what I want to say. Don't worry, be scrappy. And I wish I had said it. Somebody had said it. So I don't remember who said it, but I like it. Success is different for different people. Success could be, I only had 10 people live watching me. That's not success. Or success could be, You did. You said you were going to do something and you've actually done it. Even during hard times, you did it. Oh, that's saying something. So for me, success is not quitting. That's success. So just define it according to the way you want to. Don't let others define it for you. It's very personal, very, very personal. Just like the other thing we spoke about, which is very personal, why you do, your why. And same is your definition of success. I think that matters. Because vanity metrics are great. I don't know if they carry us. I don't know. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. Okay. Are we at the halfway mark? Almost. So I want to now talk about some of the learnings with some of the guests that we had. Speaking of which, one guest I had on a Diwali special, which was amazing, is Rajiv. And Rajiv talked about authentic relationships. You've got to be sincere, because we can tell when we're faking it. And you're like, I reached out. Do you have any jobs? Can you help me? Look at my dude. I don't know you. This happens a lot, and I'm sure it happens with all the coaches who are watching. Can you, we'll do our best to help you. There's free content out there, but don't lead with what you want, right? It usually doesn't go anywhere. So yeah, I wanted to say that. I'm now going to talk about some of the learnings Are you ready? Let's go with some of the guests. I had to rewind quite a bit because guests have been coming since March. I must have had 20, 30 guests by now. And I had to cram all of that into 10. So it's a little unfair because there were some amazing guests and I haven't taken their name because of the interest of time. And the first thing I want to share is there will be a breakdown before there's a breakthrough. This was a beautiful session with Caroline Cares in India. And she said it's hard work. And it's true. All the mindset stuff people talk about, it's hard, which is why a lot of us are not in touch with what's happening inside and are looking at external things for validation. But once you go through that, and there will be some sort of breakthrough, there will be a breakdown. There has to be, and it looks very different for many people. It could be a eureka moment, a realization, something, but it's gonna hurt. Just like a diamond, has to go through all of that heat and pressure for the carbon to go through that before it becomes a diamond. So just a reminder, this was a great topic. And by the way, I'm going to link all of these down in an article and put all of these in a short and easy to read article if anybody wants to learn more, with links to the respective live streams. So I wanted to share that. Yes, deposit before you withdraw. It applies especially to job seekers. I know Austin talks about it as well, and it couldn't be more true. So yeah, don't worry, be scrappy. Definitely, please connect with people that you want to. Either send a personalized connection. Don't send a blind connection request. There has to be a reason why you want to connect with someone. Do a little bit of homework. Yeah. Oh, that's a good one, Ken. Apply for jobs, not no, opposite of what I'm saying, opposite of what you're saying. Apply for advice. Ask for advice before you ask for what you want. Yes, Nilesh, you're absolutely right. Wonderful. Love how engaged you guys are. The second thing I want to say is, so this was the first one. There is going to be breakdown before there's breakthrough. The second thing is when Rana came. Rana is from Australia, and I love it that they've literally been people from all parts of the world. Rana talked about, that session was called How to Sell Yourself Without Selling Yourself. This was back in July. It was her winter and our summer. Lovely episode. And she has lots of hats. One of the hats she has is she's a sales coach, but she also does other things. And one of my biggest takeaways from there was ABC. And sales gets a really bad name from many people. And it's like, always be closing, close the deal. And it's not just salespeople, but even job seekers. Always see if you can get an offer. Don't start with that. Start with a connection. See what you have in common. How can you help them? Don't make it about you. Make it about them. A new kind of ABC. So instead of always be closing, always be connecting. Interesting? I don't know if you liked it. So the third one was an educator who's in Ireland called John Doran. Wonderful fellow. I will, like I said, link everything in the article, but I highly recommend that you follow him. He's a wonderful man. 10 powerful words. He talked about a teacher who talked about it in her classroom with the students, and he was a kid when he heard these. 10 words. Each word is 2 letters, and it can change your life. If it is to be, it is up to me. I hope it's making you think. Don't blame the government. Don't blame the president. Don't blame Corona. Take full accountability for everything that's happened to you. I know that may sound painful, but just take full accountability, because something powerful happens when you do that. Take control. It's up to you. You're in control of the destiny. You're in the driver's seat of your car. It's your car. Beautiful. I remember he said so many things, but this was one of the main things that I took away from that session. And it was all life's lessons. So it was beautiful. It was more on the purpose, because my mission is help ambitious professionals with competitive tips and strategies to help them with getting a dream job. There is a thing called dream job. I disagree with people who are like, yes, it is overused, but when you are waking up in the morning and you're like, I can't wait to start my day, then you're in the dream job. You're in a good zone. You're in that dream zone. So helping people with competitive tips and strategies to land that dream job, get promoted, and lead a happier, richer, and more purposeful life. Happier, richer, and more purposeful life. Happy. That was a session on happiness. Beautiful. Wonderful gentleman. So that's John Doran. And then there was an interesting one on, on storytelling with Meredith Watkins, who was in California at the time. And she's an editor and an author coach. So she knows a thing or two about storytelling, like really the not the practical, but also the theory part. Whenever you're producing something, whether it's a written post or an article, anything that you're writing, or there's a video, she talked about the themes and the formula, because someone asked this question and it was really interesting. So whatever you're talking about, so this is a practical takeaway, but I think it will be very handy no matter where we are. And it was a great reminder for me as well. What is the point? Like, what's going on? Give us the narration. What is the context? So that she called theme. And then, what is the problem? And then the action from that problem. Always, when you're thinking about storytelling, there's a lot of BS advice out there. This one, you can't go wrong. And I remember in that session, I told her it was very interesting. At that point, I was enjoying big. If anybody remembers Gilmore Girls, if you like Gilmore Girls, I'm a big fan of Gilmore Girls. It's now on Netflix. It's an older series. And my little son, who was 7 at the time, and he said, "Mom, I see that you really like this show." I said, "Yeah, I do." So what is it about? And I told him, there's a girl and her mom, and they want to send her to this, they're just the two of them. She's a single mom. He said, okay. So he said, what's the problem? What is the problem? I am like, what do you mean? He said, there must be a problem. I said, why do you ask? He said, we learned it in school. And I'm like, this is the oldest thing in the book in storytelling. We've always learned it, but maybe we've forgotten. And I told him, the problem is they don't have money and they want to go. Anyway, theme, conflict, action. TCA. When you think of storytelling, think of TCA. You're going to come up with very interesting things to talk about. Wonderful. I mentioned you. Actually go back and watch it. Great to have you here, Mohammed, Heather, and Robbie. Welcome, guys. Now, lovely to have you join us. Then if you're just joining us, I'm just going through some learnings that have been great fun, with speakers and guests that have, come on the show in the past. The other thing is our dear friend Risto, who's watching right now, and he was a guest on the show back in August. We talked about career transition, particularly when you have experience. So you're not just new and, just started working, but it's a little bit more delicate. And you're like, I'm 44 years old. I should have figured things out by now. What's wrong with me? So there he takes us through some amazing career models, very visual. Highly recommend that you watch that. What I'm going to do is, in case someone's interested, I'm going to link the shows back here in the comments in a couple of hours. So if you're hungry for more, then do check those out. And one of the things, Risto, that you said that I remember very clearly, think about how the thing that you're doing today, how can this, be a springboard for the thing you want to do? What does that position look like? And he had this beautiful visual of a springboard. And there were many other things he talked about. And he talked about sweet spot as well. And we all know what ikigai is, and he takes it further when it comes to the thing that I like to do, but thing that gets me excited, but in a very different way. Can't talk about it more because it's an hour-long session, and it's difficult to explain in a short span of time. But if you're stuck somewhere and you're thinking, this is one of the learnings that I took away from that episode that I think was particularly useful. Hi, Mohammed. You have a question about good compensation. Highly recommend that you check out. I have a few videos on YouTube which are related to salary negotiation, etc. So do check it out. You're definitely going to come across something that will hopefully help you. There's a boot camp today. Oh, nice, in storytelling. Okay, good. If anybody's interested, Risto shared something, so I highly recommend that you follow him as well. The other thing I want to say is, which was again a very interesting one. This was an episode with a professor from INSEAD, which is a big business school in France. And Noah talked about something that sounds it sounds disgusting, but this was an analogy. And I remember when he dropped this, like all our brains collectively around the world went. And that was based on a study that was done in the 70s. And it talks about strong ties and weak ties. Strong ties are people you speak with on a regular basis. And weak ties are people you're less in touch with. And he talked about the power of weak ties, which was based on the study. And he said, when it comes to career, strong ties are actually not that beneficial because they're feeding you with the same stuff again and again, and you're stuck in this kind of an echo chamber effect, and you're missing out on fresh ideas. So if you're not going out to your weak ties, it's like you're drinking your own bath water. Sounds horrible, but makes you hopefully visually realize that the weak ties are actually, there's something powerful to be said about weak ties. And we talked about different ways on how you can approach networking in times of quarantine. So this was very, very beneficial. So if you want to, I do recommend you check it out. One of the best ways to check out, by the way, yes, if you're interested, I'm going to tell you what to do. It's very simple. If you're interested in any of these episodes, just do #SuperChargeFridays and write the name of the person I'm talking about. With the banner is right here on screen. So you #SuperChargeFridays, John Doran. Just write it like that. #SuperChargeFridays, Rana Kordahi. You're gonna find it. I did it right now and I found it. So this was a very interesting session with Noah. Yeah, I remember Lauren, you were there as well, and it was such a treat to listen to him. He's amazing. Then we talked about this briefly for a second. How to produce content, how to produce great content on LinkedIn. And I see that I have forgotten to write his name, which is not fair. I'm going to write that right now. How to produce content like ma'am. That's it. So we talked about vanity metrics a lot in that show, and what he said was focus on impact, not influence. Don't focus on perfection because I'm dying. There's a spelling mistake, and I'm a bit of a spelling snob. I will live. Don't worry. Before I go and correct it. Can I stay? Yeah, I'm fine. Focus on impact, not influence. Relationships, not following. Authenticity, not popularity. It was a great show. And that was one of the main takeaways from that show with Emma. Beautiful. And the relationships not following is the biggest one. One person at a time. After 1 year, I can go to 5 people's houses and they will welcome me with open arms. That's what I want. That's what you should go for. Not should. I don't like the word should. Focus on that if you can. Because the other stuff will come. You don't have to chase it. At least I don't think so. Wonderful. Then we had an interesting session on emotional intelligence with Michael Banks. And he's an expert on all things emotional intelligence. He's written books, etc., on the subject. And we talked about, we had like detailed stories in there on how self-awareness is your superpower. And he talked about how he changed as a person and how people he worked with changed as a person when they got in touch with what was going on in terms of their emotions. Huge. It's not something woo-woo. It's not soft. It's a strategic move with your career at the workplace. It's very relevant at the workplace. And there's enough data out there that says emotional EI or EQ will be way more, and already is way more important than IQ. Because there were studies in the past that said if you had good IQ, it would result in, better jobs, better everything, better spouse. Now it's EQ. Actually, no, you have better relationships, you have better selling skills, higher chance of getting a promotion if you have higher EQ. So we focused in detail in there, and I can't summarize it in one line. I really can't, because there were so many takeaways. But it is your biggest asset and your biggest superpower. All things emotional intelligence, and particularly self-awareness, is a big one. So many people talk about it, right? Yeah. If you are aware, that helps. If you are your own worst critic, that helps for sure. Because in the past, I would be, I still do, I watch every single episode because I feel like there's a lot going on and I'm not able to keep up with comments and things like that, particularly when I have a guest on the show, because I feel like, you're busy listening, writing, reading, all of that. And I'm like, I could have done this differently. I shouldn't have said this. It sounded silly. But now it's a lot more like, be kinder to yourself. How would you say that to your friend? Then don't say it like that. Be nice to yourself, right? So the bathwater one was very powerful. I don't know if you were there, Meenakshi, but it's all about, we talked about echo chambers a lot, and we can see what's happening in the world when we are surrounded by echo chambers, right? So no, that was indeed very powerful. I'm not sure if Kevin's watching, because if he is, he would have said hello. If you are here on the replay, Kevin, I'm missing you here. You're wonderful. And Kevin said something amazing. Networking is always better than not working. He talked about a lot of stuff. We talked about LinkedIn. We geeked out on all things LinkedIn. And I thought I had a very good idea of LinkedIn. And that day I felt like a student completely, which is, I think we always are a student, but I literally was taking notes. It was so good. And such a generous person. At the end of it, and I said, you have something, would you like to take away, take us, what would you have us take away? And this is what he said: net and not. There's one little letter difference, net and not. In E and O, what a difference. And if you don't like the word networking, if you don't like the concept, if you're introverted, don't use those things as an excuse. It all comes down to relationships, one-on-one. Don't focus on big, huge, being popular. Remember we said relationships not following, impact. Forget influence, forget influencer. Impact. Be an impactor. What is an impactor? Just made a stupid word. When you get those messages saying that helped me, you don't have to shout from the rooftops and tell people I helped that guy. Keep that to yourself. But you know it, and that's enough. That's all that matters. That person knows it, and you know it. So I would say if you can start, it's never too late. Work on those relationships, because they're going to come in handy one day when you need them. So it's all about digging your well before you get thirsty. You can never get tired of that one. And then the 10th one, Hannah talked about something I've thought about, and I felt ashamed because I remember taking advantage of LinkedIn and Indeed and all of that when I went through career transitions when I was laid off. The moment I got a job, I left all of that stuff. And I was like, I wish I had done a better job. It's a regret, but no point living in regrets. But even if you're happy today, never stop looking for your next job. Just don't. Keep a lookout. Company's not going to take care of you. You're going to take care of yourself. There are no guarantees in life. If you know for a fact that there's something written, like they cannot let you go, they cannot fire you or whatever, okay, but that's rare in this day and age. So that was a huge takeaway from me with the episode that we did with Hannah. So if you're watching Hannah, hat tip, and if you're not, that's fine. but I was super grateful that you came that day. And because I can never do just what I'm saying I'm gonna do, I put in one more just for good measure. We talked about rejection a lot when it comes to job seekers, and we even talked about hate. What if you get rejected by your family? What if you get hate online, trolls, all of that? It was a juicy episode with Lauren Greif and Lee Andrews. The biggest takeaway from that, after that hour of conversation, was rejection is what you make of it. It could be perceived as sour grapes. I was too good for them. Okay. It could be redirection. Something else happened because that didn't work out. It could be divine intervention. It doesn't matter but at the end of the day, it's what you make of it. And if you're going to be bitter because they didn't take you, that's fine. That's what you make of it. That was a big takeaway for me, because at the end of the day, it comes back to that rabbit and duck, where we talked about it in the beginning, which was all about how you define success, how you look at it. So that is it. Love. I totally agree with you, Ken. So this is it. This is what I wanted to share. Wherever you are in your journey, whether you're looking for a job, whether you're looking for a client, whether you're looking to get more active on some form of social media or the other, I hope these little tips have helped you. I'm going to go through a quick recap in case you joined us late. Consistency is highly underrated. Do not underestimate that at all. It can be a superpower, actually. You don't even have to be, I don't know. I think I'm not gloriously talented, but there's something to be said about consistency and hard work. And why you do what you do matters a lot. And your why is very personal. Nobody can define that for you. Ego is not going to be your help. Ego is not going to be your helper. It's not going to be your guide. And the thing with ego is it's very sneaky, very sneaky. It shows up trying to look like your friend. But it's not. It's not. Deep down, it's not. And if you're not careful with the ego, you're going to come across those 3 C's that we talked about: compare, compete, complain. We don't want that for you. Whether something is a problem or it could be an opportunity. Maybe I think of it as adversity is a opportunity in a Halloween costume. Depends how you see it. We said, don't worry, be scrappy. Don't focus on your infrastructure. I don't know this. If you want to do something, do it. No, I'm going to take a course in writing before I can write an article on LinkedIn. I want to buy the new camera, new editor. Start. Something powerful about starting. And your definition of success matters. So these are the cool, quick takeaways that we did with our guests, Caroline, Rana, John, and Meredith, Risto, Noah, Ahmed. I'm not going to say all of them because it's going to take us ages. What these were, Michael Banks, and we talked about LinkedIn. We talked about career transitions with Hannah, and so many more, right? Bob was on the show. Michael Goldenberg was on. Meenakshi was on. It was, Lee and Lauren were on. Every episode worth its weight in gold, really. So what's the point of doing all this if nobody's watching? So it comes down to the thank you, comes down to the gratitude. Immensely grateful. Yeah, I love those 3 C's, Lauren. I mean, it's I just can't get tired of hearing. Focus on the impact. That's it. And consistency is your friend. Ego is not your friend, but consistency is your friend. And I don't even think of, what I mean? Like, failure, it's like, it doesn't exist. It was a lesson. And then because of that happened, and I changed strategy, like books, I went sideways. So my only failure is when you stop. That's a failure. But if you keep moving, you change direction, it's good. It was a longer way to get, no, that's okay. I'm not a failure. Failure for me is when you stop. That's a failure because you gave up. You're learning Aikido. my Aikido teacher told me years ago that we're all on the same path. Some are ahead, some are behind. My appreciation to this LinkedIn community. Yeah, let's follow your own path. Yeah, and comparing with somebody else doesn't really get you anywhere. Wonderful. So thank you so much, guys, for being here today. I don't want to like take up more time than necessary. You've been so supportive. Connect with each other as well, and lots of gratitude. Lots of gratitude. Wouldn't I don't think I would have continued if I didn't know there was somebody out there, even if it's one person who's looking forward to Friday. Like I know people who plan their week. I do. These SuperCharge Fridays are hard work. They're hours of preparation. You're like, what is the point? I'm not getting rewarded for it. Doesn't matter. The best reward is appreciation from one person. So yeah, thanks to this beautiful community, do connect with each other, send each other personalized requests that you meant here. And if you're thinking about going live, if I can help in any way, if you want to reach out, if you want any tips, if there's anything I can do, please do that. And remember, it's not about you. It's just not like this is my show. It's not your show. This is not my show. This is our show. We're all in it together, learning from each other. Always connect, learn, share, apply. Connect, learn, share, apply. That's what it all is. Yep. So that's it from me, and totally all about that, Tarun. Thank you for sharing. That's beautiful. Lovely that you're here. Hi, Eva. This was amazing that you're here from the UK. Yeah, and the rewards are there. The rewards are plenty. Yeah, and that's happiness and everything that comes with it. Lessons to yourself that, yeah, I didn't stop. So fabulous. A big thank you for sticking around, whether it was 52 weeks or you only started 2 weeks ago. It doesn't matter. I'm grateful that you're here. You have other choices. You have other options. You could do different things with your time, but you decided to come. So that matters a lot. So with that said, I want to say thank you. Take care of yourself. Be safe, and do catch the SuperCharge Fridays next week. I have an amazing leadership coach called Elise Finn, who lives in Ireland, and we're going to be talking about a lot of interesting stuff related to when you're in a company and you're starting with goals with your boss. I'm going to talk about different things. We're also going to talk about performance appraisals, because in some countries, this is the time of the year when you're going through that. So do join us same time next week, 2 p.m. in Belgium. Until then, take care of yourselves. Put your mask on. Don't be silly. Don't do silly stuff. This is not over. Even if you've taken the vaccine, it's not over. Do the right thing. And big virtual hug for now. And have a good weekend. Bye.